So far. We just had Vincent Mezzalello with the Narragansett Bay Commission, but now we're tacking back to Providence Water for a big announcement they made today. So I'd like to welcome Xay, the board chair, into the studio here. This is the $1 million lead-free program officially kicked off today.
It did.
So letting Providence residents know how Providence Water can help them detect lead in pipes. And what's that $1 million going towards?
That $1 million is going towards helping homeowners replace their end of the lead service line that runs to their house. See, Kate, over the past year, we've been focused a lot about the potential for there to be lead in people's drinking water. And what we found is that while none of our system contains lead piping on the public side of the equation, on the private side of the equation, that sort of last leg that the water has to go is where there's the greatest potential for there to be lead in the drinking water. And that's where it can really kind of leach in at that point in time.
So this $1 million, it can help homeowners. How can it help homeowners?
Well, it gives homeowners a way to actually finance the replacement of that lead service line from the curb into their house. And when they do their end, we'll do our end at the same time. Totally free. We estimate there are about 25,000 households in Rhode Island that may have a lead service line. So the first step of that equation is letting people know there's a potential they may have a lead service line, and that's why we've been in the midst of this media campaign. The second part, which is really important, is giving homeowners an actual way to figure out, does my house have a lead service line? If they go to provwater.com, they can check out our interactive map to see if their house may in fact have a lead service line.
Right down to the house. You can see that. You can see that the aerial picture there.
And the size of the service line itself, so it'll tell you right there whether it's lead or copper or any other substance. At that point in time, that's when you might want to consider, if you do have a lead service line, replacing that lead service line. And that's where this loan program comes in. It's really to close that last gap for homeowners. It gives them an option to pay over 3 years at 0% interest the loan they would need to actually go in and have that replacement work done. So if they think they actually may have a lead service line, they log on, they find if they do, and they decide they'd like to replace it, the best way for them to proceed is by calling Providence Water. At that point in time, we'll send a contractor out, not just one, two contractors, right? Because we need to get some verification here. We'll get some quotes from those contractors, and for the contractor that's the low bidder, we'll proceed forward with the program accordingly.
And do we have a sense, I'm sure every property is different when you talk about if folks do find out that they have that lead service line, from anything from time frame it would take to accomplish, and then what are, the range of costs that they're looking at? Of
course. Well, like you noted, it can range substantially, right? Like where I live, probably up on the east side, the houses are right up against the sidewalks. Those are short little service lines, and you're looking at a quote down there around $1,500. But obviously, if your property is set back a bit, again, our service footprint isn't just the city of Providence. It extends to the greater metro area. So you could have houses that are set back a bit, and that's where the cost can go up and escalate from there. So there's a little bit of a range there, and that's what we're working within. But there's no cap on how much that loan can be for. So we're prepared to lend out as much as necessary to make sure homeowners can do that. We started with initial $250,000. The Public Utilities Commission was kind enough to let us deploy towards a specific purpose, and we went through it really quickly. So we reached out to our friends, the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, and said, there's a need here. Can we work together on coming up with a solution? And that's where they came forth with an additional $1 million to give homeowners the ability to actually take care of this issue.
When you talk about that initial $250,000, how many folks have taken advantage of working with Providence Water to address their lead service line issues, approximately?
I mean, a couple hundred at that level, and that's sort of what's gotten us kicked off, and that's when we realized as soon as we got the first 50 to 60 calls after the public relations campaign, we said, you know what, there's real demand here. Homeowners want to be able to do what they can to fix this issue, and that's an important charge for us. For years and decades, we've been focused on doing our side, the public side, and that's where you see the roads torn up and the water mains getting replaced and cleaning and lining where we can because it's a little bit less disruptive. But we really decided over the past few years to do what we could to give homeowners a toolkit to actually get in there and do their part.
Is there anything we haven't covered today? The big kickoff, you had a bunch of leaders out there talking again about what this can be as a benefit to the community.
It's really been a terrific kickoff in general. The other thing we've done recently is, let's say you want to go one step deeper and you actually want to test your water to make sure that there isn't lead in that water. We've started offering free testing for your water if you are a Providence Water customer. So if you contact us, we'll get you a kit. You can get your water tested and find out for sure whether or not your water has any lead in it.
Okay, so you said you got, close to 100 with that 250 level. So you must be expecting this could impact a lot of Rhode Island residents.
We're hoping so. Like I said, there are 25,000, to our best estimate, homeowners who may have a lead service line. We've replaced a lot of our service lines on our end of the equation, still just leaving the homeowner. So we estimate we've got about 13,000 remaining. So there's obviously a lot of potential for demand out there if homeowners want to take advantage of this program.
And you're the chair, of course. We just had Vinny Mezzalello with the Narragansett Bay Commission. I'm sure people ask you, it's the $470 million question when people want to talk with you. What do you talk with folks when folks say, is Providence really looking to sell the water supply?
Well, Kate, I appreciate the evaluation that you've given us, and hopefully the bankers.
It's not my valuation.
The bankers will validate that. What I'll say is that our focus at the utility itself is actually on running that utility as efficiently as possible. I became chair a little over 5 years ago. The mayor came on board, obviously, a little bit after that, reappointed me into that position. And his only charge to me at that point in time and straight through has been, if there's a better way to do things, challenge the status quo and do it better. From our perspective, what we've been doing as a board is staying focused on water quality, what we can do on that front, and that's where we've stayed focused on making sure that our consumers get the absolute best water as possible. But as the mayor's exploring other options for more efficiency and you look for the potential to consolidate, I think these are logical things to consider, but obviously a lot of details to be worked out to see if this is the right thing to do at the end of the day.
And so you talk about your 5 years looking at those efficiencies. What would you say as you're putting together your litany of this is how we've improved it?
Sure. Well, for one, we've centralized all of our operations. We've gone from a series of different buildings that we were operating out of, including a 100-year-old trolley barn over in a residential neighborhood, a series of modular units, and combined into one centralized headquarters in the geographic center of our footprint. We've also made sure that any of the initiatives we've taken on have been as energy efficient as possible. So that includes a solar array that offsets the majority of the energy usage that we use at our facility, as well as a number of other energy efficiency projects across the entire operation for Providence Water. So those two things have been big efficiency initiatives for us. We've also been very focused on the customer experience itself. So things like online billing, being able to make sure that you have the resources you need at your fingertips online, since more and more of our customers are moving that way. There have been other ways that have been focused on sort of the efficiencies of the system and improving it. And then, of course, you have the day-to-day running of the operation itself, the capital improvements that we need to make, making sure that we're efficiently managing the debt that we do have outstanding, working with the infrastructure bank, working with the Department of Health, Public Utilities Commission, our other regulators to make sure that we're actually meeting the end goal that our ratepayers need, which is making sure they get safe, reliable drinking water.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time as this campaign now with $1 million to be able to support homeowners with, again, the lead supply line on their end. Providence Water says that they'll keep up their end and provide, again, those zero-interest 3-year loans. They'll provide more information about the program kicking off today if you're looking to take a look and seeing if it's something you might want to take part in. Xay, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Kate, thank you.
I'll let you go around the corner.
Thanks.
And we'll wrap up here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. It's been a busy day, kicking off earlier this morning, of course, with the Supreme Court saying sports betting can now be legalized in states around the country. We had Dustin Gauker with Legal Sports Report giving his breakdown. He's been looking at this closely, implications both here in Rhode Island and around the country. Vincent Mezzalella with the Narragansett Bay Commission getting his vantage point as there's talks up at the Rhode Island State House with the potential for the lease or sale of the Providence Water Supply. But then getting Providence Water Supply's board chair Xay to come in and tell us a little bit about the program they kicked off today. This is $1 million to be able to help homeowners, again, if they have lead pipes on their end, to be able to address that lead service pipe and be able to have a zero-interest loan for at least 3 years. So I appreciate your taking the time to tune in for the 3 o'clock show. 4 o'clock will be Josh Fenton with Business Monday. Former Director of Administration Gary Sass will be in. I have a feeling they might be talking a little sports betting and more. And of course, Mr. Innovation Saul Kaplan will be up as well. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Be sure to watch at 4. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.